handle the heat. Booyaka Shal, welcome to another episode of Can't Handle the Heat. It's your boy G Swizzles. To my left here, Jokesy. But we are not alone here. We are joined by the iconic Beta Bay co-director, as well as the probably most famous and at times, so for some people, controversial, mic'd up coach of all time, Arielle Houlihan. Arielle, thank you so much for coming on.
Welcome to you guys to my takeover of your podcast.
This had to happen at some time, because also when I say controversial, we don't mean to us. We love you, but there are some haters out there, and I've seen the comments in the comment section. Well, let's start with this. How did it start? How did the whole social media start?
Okay, so you guys probably remember when you guys were playing like Beta Bay, we had like all we had was social media back when we started. You know, like we didn't have good teams. We didn't have like we kind of Matt and I came into this with the club stuff and like took this over after college, decided to not go and play anymore. We were just like, let's hop into the club world. We were 22 and 21 years old. We inherited this club that Matt had played for growing up, being like, okay, we've got 6 or 8 teams. Like, let's try and see what we can do with this. And so social media was like the only thing we had. And so we knew that we could do that better than everybody else. We didn't know if we could coach better than everybody else. We didn't know if we could train better than everybody else. We just were like, let's try and see if we can do something here and create a brand, and went through our whole first year with a rebrand of Beta Bay. And then just like slowly started growing our social media following with Beta Bay, and started training, started getting our people together and like really trying to develop like a real club here. And then fast forward to we have a bunch of success, and you guys finally graduate and aren't kicking our ass anymore. And we are like, okay, we have to figure out how to evolve what we're doing here with social media. And so the way that I saw it going was you would rather follow Elon Musk than you would Tesla. And people want to see the personal brand. And so I've been trying to get people to kind of put themselves out there a little bit more on social media. And I had usually been a behind the scenes person. And it kind of got to a point where I was just like, I got to start doing this and posting stuff myself. And my life is pretty interesting. I'm in a lot of different facets of the sport, so might as well start posting. And so about it was a year and maybe like 2 months ago, Matt was like, I bet you if you started posting every single day, like you would get to 30,000 on TikTok pretty easily. And I was like, I don't know, like, I don't know, like, I'm not sure if I really want to. And then I kind of wanted to just prove Matt wrong on it, and was like, I don't think that it's going to blow up as quickly as you think it's going to. And I started filming at a tournament, and like just doing everything. I had like a shooter on me the whole time. And then I was able to take stuff and clip it, and just take the interesting things and kind of tell the story of what I was going through at these tournaments. And then things just started to spiral and blow up. And it was like people seeing a completely different look at coaching and the inside look at like running a club and like all these different things that we were doing. And you don't usually hear that in volleyball. Hasn't done that. Football's done it a little bit, but volleyball hadn't really done it. So I just started posting every single day. And then my personality has just kind of come out through it, and like who I am. And it's pretty natural what's going on here. And I'm not really hiding anything. So it's like, people are like very off and on everything. So that's where I think the controversial stuff comes in.
For sure. And I remember when you first started posting, because obviously I knew you, right? Because we've been playing each other for a while and everything. So I was like, oh, sick. And then, but for me, how did you know? So when you talk to your videographer when you first started, and when you work with them today, are you like film everything? Doesn't matter where, how, and also how far away are they from you at times? I know like team huddles, they're in there. But then a lot of times they're shooting across the gym, because for me, when you have a camera right here, if you're used to it, you get more used to it. But you're never, I would say, never your 100% like self, and like the people around you. Well, maybe you are, but the people around you aren't 100% themselves. So I think that's where the beauty of the mic up is like if someone's far away, they catch the genuine side, because you're gonna be genuine, but maybe people around you feel a little uncomfortable. I think that's key.
For sure,
so
and
curious to that.
for us, it's not like we're trying to hide a camera. We're just trying to make it comfortable. There's never a point in which anytime that anybody looks bad in anything that I'm doing, I'm clearing it with them or I'm blurring it out of them before I'm posting it. Anything that I post is going to make people look better than anything. And it's just a natural field. Even the kids on my team, it's a like they know that there's a camera on the whole time, but the moment that they stop thinking about it is the moment that we get the best content that we can of like this is just what's naturally happening. Um, so I've worked with three different people shooting for me consistently. And one of them is one of my best friends who played for my dad and like just a complete like it was very easy. She now works for the NCAA and she worked at Penske with IndyCar. Like she's a major videographer. And we were just like doing it for fun. And I was like, hey, you want to come out to Chicago and shoot for me? She's like, yeah, absolutely. Like, let's do it. And we've been working together for 10 years at my parents' tournament. So that was just kind of like a seamless transition. And that's how we kind of started. Um, and it was just like, let's film everything. Like, I will get a hard drive. I have a couple hard drives and I will get like hour and a half long shots of just like the cameras on from a distance, from further away, but like I know that the camera's there. And I kind of in my brain, I kind of go in and out with it. I'm naturally just doing my thing and coaching and having conversation. And then like my subconscious is kind of the camera. And so you'll see like clips of me like looking over at Kylan, my videographer, and I'm like talking to her. And it's like I'm talking to myself of like, and it's just this weird like maybe it's like a disorder that I have that I'm just like looking at the camera and going back and looking at the camera and going back. But then it's not like even a performance. It's just like this, it's my own, it's a good friend that's behind the camera. And I'm sure you guys know, like you guys are buddies with your videographers. It's like easy when you have that relationship with somebody who's filming for you. But yeah, I give her and Shane played for me. And he videos for me as well. And like I just give them the direction of like get as much as you can. And we're just trying to tell as many stories as pop up. Um, and we really don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know when a ref is gonna blow a call. We don't know when somebody is going to do something that's outrageous. But they kind of just have to be on their toes with what's going on. And then I just talk to them the whole time.
I think like you said, a big key there was being friends with your videographer,
Yeah.
because when you're mic'd up and you see this with people, sometimes I would say, and like I said, they're not doing it as much as you, or at times I
Mhm.
am, where it's like where sometimes it's like a little too much, or it's like they try and like be who they
Yeah.
aren't in a way, you know what I'm saying? But like you
Totally.
can't blame, you know what I'm saying? Like it is uncomfortable having a camera on you
Yeah.
at all times. So talking to your friend like through the camera is like something that helps. So if anyone's listening out there, I think take Arielle's advice here, and definitely if you're trying to get comfortable in front of a camera, that's something you're trying to do. Always have, it's nicer when your friends there and just talk to them and they can talk back or whatever, and just way easier. At least that's what I
I
found out.
I think that if I was going to give people the biggest advice for creating content and shooting content in anything that they're doing, it's like get the camera rolling and just keep it rolling. Like there's no reason to have breaks in what you're doing. The more comfortable I get in my environment with wherever I'm at, the best stuff comes out naturally and you're able to really show you I think the biggest part of where social media is going right now is like you want to show personality. You just want to show who you are. And everybody's so different. And so I have no fear of showing everything on social media because it's just who I am. I don't think anybody can really copy who I am. Um, and so it's a really cool thing once we start rolling and once we start getting into it. The first second of like us filming, I'm like frozen and looking at her being like, hello again, everybody. Like I don't know what to say. But like once we start going and getting comfortable and I kind of forget the camera's there and then I'm able to just do what I do.
And I think also, I kind of want to touch upon when you put yourself out there in a genuine light, right? And so for some people, okay, let's say if your thing is baking, right? Let's say your thing is baking, you're just making stuff. Okay, that's not going to be at times controversial for people. but when you're coaching and whatnot, and you have opinions, which you do as well,
Yep.
and you put that out there, and there's a very black and white side to it.
Mhm.
Obviously, one, you have to. I think the biggest thing is when people put themselves out there. I do it. I would say I do it in a different light by making just ridiculous videos at times.
Like,
But you put yourself out there. I would say more than I do in an opinion standpoint. So you're gonna get more feedback back from people. And I
yep.
think when you do that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you have to be so sure of yourself and so confident, because if not, the social media world will rock you, and
Yeah.
they will come after you. And I can only imagine what you've had in
Yeah.
your DMs and stuff.
Oh
And
yeah, it's crazy.
can you talk about that a little bit, and how
Totally.
much you have to be confident in yourself?
I mean, I have I get this question consistently now. I don't know if I could have done this when I was 22. And I'm trying to, like, even the kids on my team, a lot of what we're doing on my team is like trying to help them create a brand for themselves and create like what you are going to do after this and what you're going to do in college and like how do you want the world to view you? Um, and I think that that's important. I think that I have I have a lot of thoughts on this. The hate is you have to be very confident in what you're doing, but the only reason I can do this is because I'm a 34-year-old mom that has been coaching for 10 years and I've been successful. And so for me, I'm like, fuck it. Like I don't care. Like I can put myself out there and I'm able to do this, and the hate that comes back at me, I'm like, you're a 13-year-old boy alone in your room commenting on a 34-year-old mom's Instagram. Like, cool. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm fine. So like there's a confidence there too. There's also I get heat, and I get heat from high up at AAU and USA Volleyball and major, like I get heat from major people, and I I have coaches that talk shit. Like I've got the whole thing going on for me right now. And I wouldn't say that it's the easiest thing to deal with in the world, but I know that what I stand on and what I believe in is what I believe in. Whether you think it's right or you think it's wrong, great. That's your decision. And for me, uh it's a thick skin and a confidence that has been instilled in me from a very early age to go and uh hit back when I get hit.
For sure, Joe. I know you want to talk about that the USAV rule that got
No,
put in
yeah, that was
place.
that was one of the first things. I was diving through your comment section kind of as we were. Micah actually texted over questions too, because he unfortunately had to run to a New Year's Eve party. He was on a couple
Okay,
calls already.
I'm combining, so it's
The
fine.
so it's later on over here in Europe, but we were talking, and that was kind of one of the first things that we had seen. We seen like comments kind of talk about
Yeah.
what exactly came about from the rule with you. I pulled up actually the exact rule, the document that they released.
Yep.
And when did this come out exactly, and what was it in regards to? And was this like was this kind of told to you pretty much just as like in direct conflict with like all your interests and everything that you had been doing?
Yeah. So, I mean, I wish Micah was here because Micah would have been the perfect person to talk to about this. But I mean, this has been done for years, right? Like kids have come from all over the country to go and play and compete in a place where they believe that it is best for them. I
Mhm.
think that that's what should be done. There's a lot of people in volleyball that don't think that that should be done. Um, it had never, I don't think that it had ever really been uh, magnified to the extent that I magnified it this year. Mostly because I'm about as online as it gets with everything that I'm doing. So the magnifying glass is on me. Um, I had a team this past year, and I had two kids from out of state that were on my team, in my 17s team. They would come and fly to practice with us on the weekends and in the summer, just like with your guys' team and plenty of teams before. they would come and live with somebody's house in the summer. Rafa lived at my house in the summer. And so we ended up going and winning nationals this summer. And then I had 3 kids on my team that graduated early. They 3 kids that were seniors on that team. And so I had to figure out who was going to play on this team this upcoming year. And within a day of us winning, I had about as many DMs from kids as possible to try and get on this team. So I didn't have any sort of an issue with the recruiting of this team, based off of the success of the team and the social media presence of what was going on. And then we had committed our kids in that month of July, as all teams do recruit and commit their kids early. And then it was around beginning to mid-August, we got word that there was going to be a rule change and they weren't going to let kids from out of state play on teams. And long story short, and this went on for quite a while, we had to go through an appeal process, multiple appeal processes, and try and get our kids that were on the team before not kicked off the team, trying to get the 3 kids that had committed to the team to be able to play on the team. It was just, the process was just a joke. Like, honestly, it was an actual joke. And I'll say that to anybody. So we kind of got stunted, and we got put in a little bit of a box there. But people don't like the idea of a super team, and they think that it's bad for the sport. My personal belief is that make better teams and it's good for the sport. Make more medium teams, and boys volleyball doesn't do anything. I think that I'm trying to shine a light on boys volleyball and create great teams so that the world can see that boys volleyball is a great sport. And putting together, I mean, it's not to say that my team's medium. My team is incredible. We are doing great this year. I just am sad to see that happen for the other kids that got stunted on this, and I'm sad to see it for the kids on my team that wanted that to happen and wanted these kids to be on their team. So it was a weird, but that's just business, and that's just adults going after the adult in the fur coat and the sunglasses and not liking the way that things are changing.
Yeah, 100%. And then all, the thing with the filming and recording. What have they done about that with a lot of tournaments? Because USA Volleyball, they had banned something with that, I had heard as well, correct?
Yep. Lots of rules getting switched around here.
Feathers, all right.
Yeah, we're pushing some buttons here. Yeah, we've heard that there is no microphones allowed.
In
And
AAU as well?
I believe it's coming. I think that the adults don't like it.
But I don't. Well,
so is it something?
Go, sorry.
No. I was just
Sorry, asking all the questions. I don't know if I have the answers for you guys. Like I'm right there with you. It is very confusing. I think that there's ownership in media that people are trying to take. I think that there is also a protection of the referees that they are trying to show. I think that that's a lot of where it comes from. That being said, I think that there's accountability that needs to happen as well. And so the balance of accountability and protection is a tough balance. But I have a lot of thoughts on this whole thing, but the banning of audio recording devices on people, my personal belief with it is that if you don't want to be recorded when you're in a youth sporting event, you shouldn't be in a youth sporting event.
And then also,
especially in today's day and age, too.
I don't get like, so Joe, did I cut you off there, Joey?
No, yeah, I was gonna talk a little bit like today's day and age for sure, like because a lot of the time they're signing waivers on all that stuff, and that's like cleared, and so they already kind of sign off on that when they go into the event. Um, but it's just interesting to hear like a feedback. I'd be interested to know like reasoning they give for all of that, because it's just a lot of there's people who are just trying to do it out of spite for sure. Like we know how that is. We deal with issues too.
Well,
with
people that
all kinds of stuff.
It's also the older generation that people don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? People fear what they don't understand. Now, at the end of the day, yeah, they're gonna like. Sometimes I've done stuff where sometimes I'm asking for it. I get it. Like I'm gonna put something out there where it's like but like at the same time, there has to be an understanding that you're not tearing the sport down. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not. It's if anything, you're bringing more light to it. Now people have opinions of that.
That being said, like this is a free country. Like
Yeah.
there's freedom of speech going on here. Like I can say what's going on. There's no defamation going on here if I am saying what is happening. It's just what's happening. Like that I have the ability to speak about what is going on at these things, and there's a lot of silencing that is trying to go on here of protection of of the system. And so it's a weird space that a lot of the adults are trying to get into here, of trying to control uh, the narrative of what their events look like. But there's a lot of money in these events. I know this. Like there's a ton of money in these events. And so they're trying to protect their own. They're trying to make it look good of what they think looks good. And you would think that you would be trying to get every influencer and person with a voice into that, be able to just say what they think, no matter if it's good or if it's bad. There's I get bad press on my stuff all the time. It doesn't mean I'm not going to post it. Doesn't mean it doesn't. Every single bad comment drives my algorithm more than the good comments do. So like, it's all good. I'll take the heat, but it's not people are afraid of losing what they have with this.
Absolutely. And we've run into this like countless times. Like there's events that we're not even allowed into just because we've shared our opinions on it. That you would think like people who run it would be like, oh, maybe we should change this. But no, they're like, we just want to silence people about it. So we hear it. Obviously we're out of the country 9 months a year. So we're not like as present as you are and have that presence at every single event. So
totally, but you guys are going to get to a space where you come back and you guys start
for sure,
and you guys are going to be in volleyball. Like coming from the place that you guys come from, you guys are going to be in volleyball for the rest of your life. And so this is a world that you guys love and you guys think so fondly of and want to be successful. And there'd be nothing that would make me or you guys happier than volleyball being the most popular sport in this country. And so, and that's kind of the mission of like what we're doing here. We're trying to create superstars with this world of volleyball and put it on a different pedestal. I think that especially in volleyball, women's basketball and women's soccer is killing it right now in this country. Women's volleyball is not there yet. They're not even close, honestly. And so if we don't start promoting people, putting themselves out there and making a name for themselves in this sport isn't going anywhere.
Absolutely. No, yeah, these are conversations we have a lot with just more people in the media, social media world. I don't want to drop anybody's names if they don't want to be contributed into this conversation, but they definitely, everybody shares the same frustrations. There's a lot of brands, not even social media type brands, but like apparel brands and stuff that are just really frustrated with how a lot of these kind of bigger, higher up people and a lot of these organizations are running stuff and decisions they're making. And I think at the end of the day, like it's just going to cause more issues and more separation from it. Like everybody's just gonna be like, we don't need these organizations to operate and run, a lot of these tournaments. Like we can create our own stuff. And you see people try to do that, but at some point people are just going to be fed up with it. And when you were talking about accountability, I have a question because this is actually a conversation that is happening a lot right now in the French league here where I play. with the referees specifically, because it's this debate between the refs are not being paid a lot of money, and that's just pretty honest up front. So for people to have like the same type of expectations of them as you would like with an NFL referee, an NBA referee, where that's their full-time job, like that's always the other side of it. It's like, how you expect them to be, good when they have to work another job. They're just like, it's just their side quest in a way. And what is your opinion when people kind of come, because it's the same thing I would say in junior volleyball. Like this is kind of their hobby in a way.
Yep. I think that it's the same with the coaches too. I think the coaches and the referees are in the same position. None of these coaches for juniors club volleyball are doing this full time. Very, very few of them are. They all have jobs. And so people, I said this today in a post, like the people want to complain about the referee shortage. There's a good coach shortage too.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a shortage that we have as well. And so it's complaining about people doing their jobs in the right way is something that like people need to do their jobs well, no matter what their job is. If it is taking the trash out, or if it is doing like whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Like people need to do their jobs well. And so if you're in a position and you're not doing your job well, you shouldn't be doing that job anymore. Whether it's a coach, whether it's a player, whether it's whatever it is. So I have a hard time with the referees. Part of this is like, yes, I believe that people should be paid for their time. I think coaches should be paid well. I think that teachers should be paid well. I think that referees should be paid well for what they're doing. Whether they can or cannot be based off of the economics of the league or the club, whatever, that's dependent on where they're located. But I don't think that the level of calling a game should change. It's a game. You got to learn how to referee and officiate the game. You got to learn how to coach the game.
Absolutely. No, I mean, we grew up in a household like full of like accountability. So like everything. So we like understand that perspective and have the same perspective on all that. And yeah, it's interesting. Like when I look at it and I just look at refs throughout the world now, and it's the same in the US, but so many referees, and again, I'm just saying a majority. I don't want like any referees to get upset.
Everybody. Yeah, totally.
But a majority of referees generally never played volleyball at a high level.
Yeah.
Like they don't know, like, because when you look at, internationally, you have the challenge system. You have, how you have these different tools, but even people who work the challenge system or like refs that are reffing at a high level that never played high level, you don't know what to look for in certain situations. Like when a team gets in an out of system situation, the first thing like a line judge should be looking for is a touch off the top of the hand. That's what you should be. And kids, like that's just not trained. If you don't have the experience to understand that, that's I think where the biggest gap is with referees and like the speed of the game. They just don't know what like to anticipate. If you anticipate well, you can catch a lot of stuff.
Totally. I think that referees are needed, and I think there's a huge connotation that I just hate the refs, and there's part of that that's true, but like there's also a part of it that I know I'm not an idiot. I know that we need referees in this game. I just think that the referees have to evolve. Just like the coaches are evolving, just like the players are evolving, just like the referees have to evolve. And everybody in leadership with the referees here it's kind of like the police. Like you can't make this a you against us thing. Like you got to bridge the gap as the police. The police need to go to the community, and the police need to do a good job of making sure that they know, like, you shouldn't be scared here. The referees in this case are doing a really good job of scaring everybody. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of discrimination and ridiculous comments that I get from referees when they come up to me, and it's been happening for 10 years. I'm not talking about in the last year since I've been on social media. For the past however long, the who's the head coach stuff towards me and the crazy stupid stuff, like that's the referees have to get training on people to people skills here, and understanding that there's a gap. I do think that there's a generation of referees that are coming up. They get it. I do think that it just like there is a generation of coaches coming up here that get it as well. I think that there is probably this clash against the old way of the referees and the new way of referees, and they don't want to kick babies off of benches, and they don't want to uh, be calling throws on every single play. And like they see how the game is evolving, and they see how there's some issues with what's going on here. They want to change it, but they're getting graded on it, and they're getting this is their job. So there's a part of me that gets it, but there's a system that is broken here for sure with the referees.
Joe, I
And
had a really quick question about the
Yeah.
refs. When so I was just curious. You get approached? Do you get approached by refs? Do you get approached by parent? Do you ever get approached by parents? And like when you talk about AAU officials or high up, do they come to you in person and do they talk to you about stuff?
A lot of this stuff is not in person. Like I get so much
Mm-hmm.
stuff not in person.
Mm-hmm.
All of the stuff that I get in person for the most part from people at these tournaments now is like, can I take a picture and you're changing the sport? And I get people who cry and I get people like it's like really good stuff in person
Awesome.
because that's not scary to do. Confronting somebody, people don't really have the gusto to do that. And so that doesn't happen as often. It still happens, but it doesn't happen as often. The referees, it's I get referees that come up and want to take a picture with me. I also get referees that most of the people that don't like me just stay away from me. Um, but the referees, I have to deal with the referees that are officiating my games. Those are the ones that I have to deal with them personally because they're coming over and handing me a lineup and or handing my assistant coach a lineup because they don't think that I'm the head coach or um they're treating me like I'm not a human or they're screaming at my kids to get off the sport court when they're playing volleyball and like there's just like people to people stuff that I deal with consistently, but that's just with the games that we're playing.
Gotcha.
for you, from you like, what ideally do you think should happen in referee training? I guess like what would be the first solution, I guess, that you have in order to kind of take the step in the right direction?
That's a good question. I First thing that just comes to my mind, which is usually what I just say, is I would say there needs to be a uh, unionizing of younger referees and a unionizing of younger coaches. And they probably need to like sit down and have some coffee together or something and like talk about what the issues are between and like do it at the Final Four and do it at the ABCA convention and have like a real like come to Jesus moment of like what would be best for what are the issues that you guys are facing? What are the issues that we're facing? How do we like figure out how like and actually have it be open forum conversation of like where the game's headed, what's important to people, like a real like listening of both sides of everything. That's just like
I
my
and
first automatic, like I didn't even think about it answer.
Yeah, no, I think because it's very evident, just the quality, like you said, it's across the whole board. Like, so every summer, like we go run, we had like 36 camps and
Yeah.
clinics last summer, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
go work with a ton of clubs throughout the U.S. And that's the same conversation we have with pretty much every club director. Is like there's just not enough quality coaches there. So it's like both on both sides, coaches, referees.
It's like the same question is like, how do you train good coaches? Like, how
A
do you,
hundred percent, yeah. It's
and honestly, for us, it's like, I need to go sit down and have coffee with you. I need to go
yeah.
and talk to you about like I'm not gonna, a lot of what we do at Beta Bay is like really people to people and like trying to get them to come to the realization of like, this is the way that I want to do things as opposed to like, I'm gonna give you a handbook and say, hey, follow the handbook and like, you have to train this way. Everything that we've done here has been like, hey, this is the way I do it. This is the way Chad does it. This is the way that Matt does it. And like all three ways are kind of different. And you can kind of fall into wherever you fit with all of this. And we all respect the way that each of us do it. And like, yeah, I think that a lot of our kids can learn a lot of different things from a lot of different people with this. And so it's really a question of like getting them to see this is the way that I want to do things.
No, 100%. Like a lot of that stuff is just like people skills. You talked about it, but
Yeah.
coaching 100% about a bunch of it is people skills.
Yep.
Um, yeah, because that's a conversation that like I said, we have with a lot of directors. For a lot of directors, I've heard them say like we would like to at least have like some type of baseline training where it's like, all right, they understand volleyball to this extent. Because when you're talking about clubs, who have fours and like sixes,
Yeah.
and like of each age group, the ability to get quality coaches at every single team is just significantly low. And so that's one thing we do. We go host like free coaches clinics, and we just go talk, and we talk at the beginning like about a basic level. Sometimes I forget though that like when I get into it and I start talking about stuff, like these coaches, some of them just need to know like, okay, rotations at a certain point and stuff like this, and I forget about this sometimes. And so we're working on ways, with a lot of the clubs that we work with throughout the summer to provide more resources for a lot of their coaches, just, basics like how to put a practice plan together. It's not like it's like ABC where we can lay out this is the perfect practice plan because every team's different, every thing is different, but this is like how we view the game is kind of how I approach it.
Yeah.
I just I think it sounds like you do the same where we do a lot. Like I'll tell you from my experience what's worked for me, what hasn't worked for me, what I see work for other things. And it's your job to kind of go and experiment. You can use some of this stuff, but I'm not going to tell you this is 100% the way to do it. I think that's how refs have to approach it too. Is like there's certain ways and stuff, and you have to learn from reffing. And that's the most frustrating thing for me, and I'm sure it's for you too, is like refs just are not they don't, it's just their egos get in the way about with a lot of things. And it's like, yeah, it's okay to be wrong and admit it. Those refs, I respect those refs way more. If a ref comes and tells me like, I messed up, okay, like I'm not going to argue with you. You understand that, and
I mean, I keep relating it back to like good coaches and good refs and bad coaches and bad refs. It's the same thing. Like there has to be some sort of accountability for bad coaches. There has to be some sort of accountability for bad refs. And I respect good coaches and I respect good refs. Like a ref that honestly doesn't even look at me and like doesn't even like calls the game and is like, that's it, that's what I see. I'm like, great, you just did your job. Like I respect that. Like you look at me and have a conversation with me mid game and like are like trying to explain why this is, I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. Like I'll argue with you, I'll tell you what I think there, like no problem. But like just it's a do your job type of thing. Same with me. I'm expected to do my job. And I think that the referees also need to see that like I truly believe that like bad coaches are in the same exact playing field here too.
No, absolutely.
I had a question about you had to deal with some misogyny as you kind of described it there. You described in what ways, but I want to talk about what advice would you give to any women coaches coaching men? What do men respect or boys respect or something that you would kind of give advice for in terms to succeed?
So when I first started coaching, I was told that I could not coach the older boys because my voice was too high pitched and they would not respect me as a coach. Obviously, pretty dated in the way that comes across. I I've experienced all the things with this. I don't even think about it. It's so funny because a lot of my brand now is so like the girls love me. The boys are like, I don't know, but like the girls love me. Um, and it's because I am a woman who's speaking up for, and I'm in a different space than a lot of women are. Um, my whole life, I've never been this like big, like girl power type of thing. Like it's never been my MO. It's never been like something that is like this huge importance to me until this year. This year it just became this like, oh man, like I didn't realize how many people are really hurting on this. Like people are like talking to me all the time and like are really struggling with their confidence and really struggling with like getting put down. I don't struggle with it as much as other people do it, which is why I can be in the position that I'm in. Um, the the advice that I give to people is to just love your kids and like show them that you're there and like train the way that you believe in training and like do as much research into all this game as you can. But like it's the people to people stuff that is the most important thing here. You get rid of that and like you're going to struggle in this game. And so there's a lot of women that get the people to people more than they get the systems or the training of this. And so like I tell people to lean into that as much as they can because I think it's such a superpower that some people have that others don't. Especially with being a female coaching boys volleyball. Um, I think that I have a tendency to see the problems in the communication so specifically, and I don't let it go. I don't like most from what I've observed, most guys in the gym are like, we train and that's it. And I don't really, I'm not like, you can go at it and no problem and it's all good, whatever. It's a little bit more of a European style of training, of just like, you fuck up, like, fuck you. And that's it. Which I kind of believe in too. I think that there's a balance between the two. Um, in our country, we're a little bit more fluffy with the way that we do things. And I would rather be fluffy with the way I do things. I think it's more fun. I think it's like when you win, it's just so much better. And it's like, I don't want this game, especially for this age, I don't want this game to be a job for them. I want them to love it. I want them to look back on club and be like, man, that would probably might have been the best time of my life playing volleyball. It was just like the most carefree of like the way that we were doing things. And I I think that it's such a cool thing to be able to cultivate that environment. Um, I'm a hard ass the way I do things too. I think that there's a balance with it, but for the most part, I tell women that are coaching men's, and I tell women who are coaching women's that I want to get into coaching men's, um, that most likely you have such an eye for the emotion in this game, and you are able to bring something that other people don't. And I think that that can be very successful at in the men's world in this country. I don't know how it would work in Europe. I think that I might get like actually like punched in the face at some point, but that's okay. Like I think that there's a in this country, the way that we do things, there's this like team aspect of what we're doing that is just like the coolest thing in the world. And when you win in that environment, it's sick.
Yeah, Gage is good. Gage got spit on. He did get punched. He got spit on the face. So
Yeah, I got spit on. I got all types
Oh,
of stuff.
tough,
So
man.
so yeah, over here
Welcome,
it can be a little more rough. Like I said, it's more of
welcome.
like it's like a fu type thing, and then you just go on, I guess.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so do you prefer coaching men's over women's?
So I haven't coached women's, which is so fun. I mean, I getting asked like when, at what point, or what is, I've never coached women's. Like I've coached camp and I've coached like I've been around I played women's volleyball. Like the moment that we got out of college, we took over Beta Bay. We've been doing this for 12 years now. And so it's my whole I I assisted Matt for 6, 7 years before I even took a head job, or like with our own club. Like I didn't even know if I could do it. And so it was the women's game for me. I would love to coach women's at some point. I have two daughters. Like I'm sure that at some point that it'll be in the cards. But like I I like coaching men's because I I think it's important for women to support men's volleyball. I think if more women supported men's volleyball would be at a better place. And I think if men support women's volleyball, it's good for the women. And so
I
yeah,
agree with that.
yeah.
yeah, so I've found this niche in this world of volleyball that I truly believe in. And I think it's important to do this. And I think I want to lead by example by continuing to support men's volleyball.
I was literally about to ask that very question, kind of like what it is, yeah, about boys volleyball specifically that has you so vested into it versus the girls side. There's an interesting conversation we had. Katie Schumacher Colley, she's the head
Yeah,
coach at Penn State. We did a podcast with her
amazing.
recently, and she's amazing person. But her and Mike actually had an interesting point back and forth that the expansion of the women's game, especially the college game now with it getting on some bigger platforms,
Yeah,
is at the end of the day going to pay off also for the men's side because
sure.
Mark Pavlik on the men's state head coach. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. He was pointing out that the only reason boys get into volleyball typically is one, their family members
Yeah,
are involved in it, or two, like a friend gets them into it. So the more girls that get into volleyball will pay off, later on down the road when they become mothers and get their kids into
sure.
volleyball. So everything plays into each other in a way as well.
Yeah,
Um,
it's so important for women to support the men, and there aren't very many women supporting men's volleyball. There's people that are in my comments that are like, I don't know anything about volleyball other
yeah.
than that coaches boys volleyball. Like that's the only thing they know about volleyball. That's crazy to me.
It's
And
crazy how many high level women's volleyball players, collegiate, we hire them to coach our camps. Never seen a men's volleyball match before in their life.
it's insane. It's unbelievable. And that it's just not, but that being said, like tournament directors have to bring boys volleyball into their events. Like
Yeah.
Triple Crown, I had a conversation with Triple Crown. Like you have to bring a top boys volleyball team into your event. There's tournaments all over the country that I think that in the 90s, the volleyball used to be very, very fun in the 80s and 90s. And like boys and girls tournaments were at the same place and it was smaller. And so you could do that. And it was a crazy, it was a party. It was insane. And like, I think that people got very like, oh my goodness, we have to separate this out. We have to get rid of this. Like, we can't have the boys and girls together. Like,
HP championships.
yeah, totally. Like, we cannot have this
That
happen
was
anymore.
crazy. The stories come out of that.
It's crazy.
That was
Like, it's
nuts.
putting boys and girls together is a crazy event, but it's great. It's good for the sport. It's good for
Mhm.
boys and girls to be together in the sport. And it's good for the boys game. And the boys game needs help. And it's good for the girls game because the girls game needs to evolve. And it's like we have to create more spaces in the sport where we can put on great events that have boys and girls volleyball highlighted in the same place.
Yeah, and I think what's really cool, what I think you see Love taking this approach with
Yeah.
bringing their pro teams to around girls events. If you start bringing the clubs together, you can do weekends where it's like do it during the fall and then you do like an exhibition with college men's volleyball around the same time. You can really bring everything together.
Yep.
And this is like ideas that we talk about from our side too. Like so many like cool ideas. Obviously, we're very handicapped with just our schedule in general of like things that we can get involved in.
Yeah.
But we have like lists of like cool ideas like you're talking about here too that we would love to pitch ideas to and
Totally.
get behind. Like I think a lot of people, younger people in the sport of volleyball who are running businesses, running clubs, doing something, have that type of vision and understand the pull with it. You
Yep.
know, and it's just the people at the head of a lot of these bigger organizations just they don't see the value. They don't move with kind of everything that's going on in the world as a whole, not just volleyball, but what's going
They
on kind of in the world.
I will say these people have worked very hard to get to where they're at, and they have done a ton for the sport. They have. There's no question in my mind. It's the honest truth that these people have worked and politically played the field to get to where they're at, and they are running the sport right now. That's amazing. There is a new wave of people that are coming up in this sport that know what is going on.
Hmm.
And it's taken me and Matt 10, 15 years to be respected and understood that we know what's going on. We knew this stuff back when we first started and we were 22 and 21 years old. You guys knew this stuff back when you were playing club. Like there's kids that have grown up in this sport that know what's up, and they need to be the people that are in positions of power with the sport right now need to be listening to the vision that people like you guys and people like us have because it's where the sport is going to go, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, I even bring up the AVP. I'm like, how is this just not a party? Like, make this like it used to be. Just make this
Make
into a
volleyball fun
ginormous
again.
party.
100% make volleyball fun again. The reason like this sport has so many things that I mean, I'll tell you guys, um I was in Louisville 2 weeks ago for the Final Four, and I had a conversation with someone in leadership that said, yeah, I don't really think that volleyball needs superstars. We're a different sport. And I was like, whoa, what?
They don't understand American media then if
And,
they think,
he
look at every
said,
other sport.
well, you look at basketball, you look at women's basketball, and they had the Caitlin Clark effect this year of like, but now they're just going to plateau. And now it's just this like come down from Caitlin Clark. And I was like, wait, hold up. Like, you're telling me, and this is somebody very, very high up in leadership in our sport, saying, I don't want there to be superstars in this sport because I think that we are more of a team sport and we should be highlighting what is so good about the team sport. And I was like, there's no way that this sport gets bigger and becomes the best. And it was just a protection of like, this is where the sport's at. And we've done such a good job. I get that.
Yeah.
No. But the fact that we have people in leadership saying that we don't need superstars in this sport is the reason why we don't have superstars in this sport. We have to have
Exactly.
superstars in the sport, especially when we talk about. I'm looking at all of these recaps right now of like women in sports in 2024 and how this was such a great year for women in sports in 2024. These little kids can't name a single volleyball player.
Yeah.
I can name a bunch of basketball players. I can name more basketball players than I ever thought that I would ever name. I can name a ton of soccer players that I would never thought that I could ever name. And I know the volleyball players, and nobody outside of volleyball knows the volleyball players. It's crazy. And it is something that has to change with the sport. And we have to create superstars in this sport if we want the sport to grow.
Yeah, and I you just don't understand American sports media if you think that that's not look at every other league,
No kidding.
major league. They
I was like, I'm not even going to argue here. This is a joke.
yeah.
This is not something worth arguing.
No, it's I think a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people, younger people in the sport have had the exact same conversations with a lot of these people in these organizations. Like you literally go to tournaments, we'll go ask them, like, name members of our national team who are representing. They couldn't name a single one. Literally, you couldn't name a single one.
We went to a tournament in Indiana this year, and there was a poster of Matt Holt. Matt Holt. Matt Holt was Max on
Yeah,
it. Matt Holt was like, we're at a boys volleyball tournament and they can't get it right. Like it was, I mean, we have to make a change in the way that we highlight people and the way that we are promoting and lifting up the athletes in our sport and making them look like superstars because we're just not going anywhere if we don't do it.
yeah.
I think that
100%.
I think there's like a I think sorry, Joe, I didn't mean to cut you off here, but I think, dude, I just know because we get this a lot. That some people are gonna listen to this and be like, oh, those, they don't like this older generation, especially they don't like, and they're like, oh, they don't understand, blah blah, they don't know, blah blah. But sorry, I'm mumbling now. I apologize, but it's just like clearly there's a revolution in volleyball media right now happening, and whenever that happens, people get, as I said before, feathers ruffled, and they're not gonna understand. And there's this like, there's gonna be a lot of this. There's gonna be a lot of rules that are put in place.
Totally.
And eventually, it's gonna there's gonna be water tipped too high, and then it's all gonna come out. So I think we're in the middle of that right now. I think that eventually it will, but obviously there's gonna be people who have to take shit, such as yourself, to kind of get it there, and that's why I respect you, for sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
And Joe, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
I feel like it's my I feel like I've over this past year I've like really found a place in this sport where I feel like it's my responsibility to do stuff like this. Like and I used to say like I don't have a responsibility to do nothing. Like I just think that if people like me don't do this, nobody's going to. I've been in this sport since I was born. You guys have been in this sport since you were born. And if we know a ton about what's going on here. And I think that it's important for you and for me to be who we are in this. And if we're going to get cut down with it, that's okay. Like we still have this really, really strong foundation of where we come from. And uh, I know that what I'm doing is good and it is affecting people in the right way. And if people take offense to that, that's okay with me.
Respect.
100%. No, I was just pointing out earlier, like it doesn't just happen in volleyball. The fact that it happens in volleyball is kind of shitty because it's like at the place it is because of that. But
Yeah.
I always bring up Pat McAfee and what he's done for ESPN,
No kidding.
and still like what ESPN does to him and how they drag it. I'm like, he is the keeping you guys relevant.
He's literally
the only-
keeping them afloat right now.
and like what he has to deal with in his own organization there, like they have just no understanding.
But that's
It's-
just because when you're polarizing and when you have these black and white hard lines that you decide I'm going to take a stand on this, like you know that it's just such a depiction of what our country is like, and like everybody's got like one side or the other, and you can't talk about it or meet in the middle or anything. It's just like shit on the other person, and so it's so the United States, and it's so if you're going to make an impact, you got to get ready to put your seatbelt on and have some tough skin and be ready to take some punches with it, which is exactly what I'm doing.
No, that's awesome. I have one question here from Mike I got to ask. It's a little off
Go
topic
for
from
it.
what we talked about.
Yeah, no, go for it.
He texted me, but he wanted to know your favorite drill of all time, an explanation of it.
Drill. Volleyball stuff. Okay, fine.
I have to ask. He texted me
Okay,
to ask this.
favorite drill. There's tons of times in our gym where we've like I actually haven't done this with my team in so long, and I probably need to, but like bad practice starts and like we play short court a lot. Like we're
Nice.
throwing off and we play short court all the time. I pretty much start off every single practice with like 6-on-6 short court.
Nice.
And sometimes when we're not communicating in the right way, I just take the ball away and I'm like, go. And I award points based on what happens and how they look and how they react. And like it becomes this like skit of like them like fake serving a ball and like if the whole team is like kind of like together with the way they're doing things, I'm like putting points over here and putting like it's just about impressing me of like how you get the point. And then all of a sudden it's like hysterical and people are like diving all over the place and like screaming at each other and whatever. And I'm like, why do you have to take the ball away to do this? Like it's not that hard to, and it's usually just like a lazy Saturday morning where we're rolling in like Wampy and like going into short court. But I like to take the ball away and let them have some personality. Make them have some personality.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. And I have one more question for you. This is our
Go for
last
it.
question here.
Right.
This is something I don't understand, I guess, about
Pour myself more
women.
champagne while you
Go
ask.
for it. Absolutely. Absolutely. In the women's volleyball community, women's volleyball, I think it's the highest, it's the most played sport for junior girls, if I'm correct. No? Or
Yeah.
How come once college hits, and then after college, the amount of recreational girls volleyball players is so low? We go to these tournaments, and I have never seen, after obviously club volleyball, girls dominate, college volleyball, girls dominate when they're playing college. But in terms of recreational volleyball, once they hit college and after college, it's fully dominated by male, but there is way more female players out there. Why is that?
We're talking about like open gym, adult level volleyball.
Open gym, you can do grass, you can do beach, you can do anything you want.
Why is it more men heavy and then not as women heavy?
Correct.
And
like you said, but
good
I don't know if
question.
the
And
grass
I would ask if that's the same in soccer and in basketball as well. I would say that
Probably.
there's way more adult men playing open rec basketball than there are girls.
Why is that?
Probably having kids.
That's true. That is true. That's something I actually never thought about.
Probably
That's a
having
good point.
kids.
But also in college though, it's also not that big. Like I get in college, like guys in college will go play like anywhere.
Like
Girls is not as
intramural,
much.
yeah, like intramural volleyball. The guys are playing, but the girls aren't.
I think
Yeah,
it's a
I don't know.
similar dynamic, Gage, to sometimes what we see, like when we go to like USAV and stuff, like short court. When we set up a short court,
Yeah.
the boys are jumping on the court immediately. Like they want, but girls, you have to almost you have
Yeah,
to like
girls-
bribe
girls-
them into doing.
Why
Girls
is that?
don't want to play games as much. Girls want to be cool, and the boys are like ready to go play a game at any point. The girls are just like want to go talk.
That's true. I mean, yeah, but then also, but
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
in the
it's true.
most part, especially when you guys set up, if you guys set up at a tournament, I think the girls are just like, oh, I don't want to like go and maybe it's a play against the boys thing, or maybe it's like a they just don't want to like play games as much. I find that boys are like ready to play games at any like they just want to play a game.
That's true.
Girls are not as inclined to play games all the time.
Yeah, in our camp, but yeah, you're right. Because I think maybe it's like a coolness factor or whatnot. Because when we set up in camps, girls are all in, like all in about it, and
Yeah,
they're very tight and
totally.
they're really
'Cause
good.
it's camp.
But yeah,
Totally.
yeah. But as soon as you, it's their choice.
Yeah.
It's out the window, and that was something that I was always, and I don't mean like in a negative way. It's just I was very
totally.
curious in why that
I think
is.
that
And
I think
yeah.
probably a societal and a cultural thing, and I think that when everybody else is doing it, it's great, and when boys are just more inclined to go and play a game, it's just like a nature.
Got you. All right. Well, Arielle, Joe, do you have any more questions?
No, I'm good. Maybe we'll set up another one in the spring sometime too. But this will be
For sure.
rolling out next week. Yeah.
Next week or the week after that, depending on some other
Amazing.
stuff. Well, this has been
Cool.
awesome, Arielle. I just want to thank you.
What are you guys doing for New Year's? You guys have anything? You're just hanging out?
I have to go to a teammate's house in 20 minutes here.
That's amazing.
We're going just to the local.
It's in
bar
4
here.
hours. Though, is midnight. So
Amazing. We are
Chilling.
getting ready for the party of the year, as always.
we'll be popping champagne here pretty soon too. So I don't have
Well-
any on me. Like I didn't plan as well as you did.
The
So
lifestyle, guys. It's the lifestyle.
It shows me. I didn't choose it.
Yeah.
Well, Arielle, thanks so much for coming on. Just want to say good luck the rest of the year. And just remember,
Thank
guys,
you.
if you can't handle the heat, get out of the M Kitchen. There's been another episode presented by Out of System.